In this section, we are going to discuss two interesting operator, unary increment operator and unary decrement operator. Unary increment operator is represented using two plus sign and unary decrement operator is represented using two minus sign. The purpose of unary increment operator is to increase the value of a variable by 1 and the unary decrement operator decreases the content of a variable by 1. Let me just show you using some simple example. Let us consider that we have a variable a assigned with 5, and if we apply plus plus on this a, then the content of a is going to be increased by 1. It is simply equivalent of writing a is equal to a plus 1. Similarly, if we have a variable x and the x variable is initialized with 10, then writing x minus minus will decrease the content of x by 1. It is simply equivalent of writing x is equal to x minus 1. Now there are two different usage of this increment and decrement operators. One is known as the pre-increment and the other is post-increment. Similarly with decrement, that means pre-decrement and post-decrement. Now I will be discussing the pre and post cases with the unary increment operator, and same thing is actually applicable for the decrement operator as well. Now if we write a plus plus, that means the plus plus is postfixed with the operand a. In this case it is called post increment. Otherwise we could have written in this way. It is called pre-incrementation. Now when the plus plus is prefixed, it is pre-increment. When it is postfixed with the operand, it is post-increment. Now what is the difference? Actually, if we have only the plus plus operator operating on a single operand in the expression and nothing else in the expression, then the meaning remains same. There is no difference between pre-incrementation and post-incrementation in such cases. That means we have only single operator plus plus operating on operand. No complex statement is there. Then the meaning doesn't differ. Otherwise, the meaning differs when we have some other operator in the expression. Let us take one example. Say we have a variable a initialized with 5 and another variable I, and I am writing I is equal to plus plus a. Now writing I is equal to a plus plus and I equals to plus plus a, they are having different meaning. Here in the prefixed case, what happens, since we have two operators here, one is the assignment and another is the pre-incrementation. So the pre-incrementation is going to be applied first and the content of a is going to be increased first, then the value is going to be assigned. So pre-incrementation means increment it first, then do the other thing. And post-incrementation means do the other thing first, then increase the content of the variable. Here the assignment operation is going to take first, that means the content of a is going to be assigned to I first, then the value of a is going to be increased. That means in this case, if we print I after this operation, then the value of I is going to be 6, and then obviously a is going to be 6 here because a is always going to be increased whether it is pre or post. That means here the value of I is going to be 6, and here after this operation the value of I is going to be 5. Here it is 5 and a is going to be 6. So the equivalent operation could be written in this way. That means in this case it's actually happening in this way. First the value of I is assigned, the value of a is assigned to I, then the a is increased by 1, and in this case the value of a is increased by 1 first, then it is assigned to I. So in case of pre-incrementation, the increment operator is applied first, then the other thing is actually done. In post-incrementation, the other thing is actually done first, then the incrementation takes place. Now the case is same for the decrement operator as well. That means if we have a variable a initialized with 5 and we have I, and I am writing I is equal to minus minus a, that is different writing I is equal to a minus minus. Although in both the cases the content of a is going to be decreased by 1, but the value of I is going to be different in both the cases, in these cases. So here it's actually the decrementation will be affected first. That means the value of a is going to be decreased first to 4, then 4 is going to be assigned to I. So value of I here is going to be 4 and a is 4 as well. But here the content of a is going to be assigned to I first, that means I is going to be 5 in this case, and then A is going to be decreased, so the value of A is going to be 4 here. So the equivalent operation of this is, first of all, the assignment is taking place, then A is equal to A minus 1. And here it is actually decreasing the value of A first, then it is assigned to I. In this programming example, I try to show you how the pre-incrementation and post-incrementation works. With this example, we have a variable A initialized with 5 and a variable I, also integer. And what we are doing here at line number 7, you can see that I equals to plus plus A. That means it is the pre-incrementation of A that takes place first, and then the value incremented is assigned to I. That means the value of A will be increased to 6 first, and then 6 will be assigned to I. So the printf statement at line number 11 is going to print the value of A to 6 and also the value of I as 6. Let me just execute the program and show you the result. Here you can see that both A and I are 6. Now if I change it to A++ instead of plus plus A, then this is the example of post increment. Now A will be assigned to I first, so it is the assignment that is going to take first, not the incrementation. A will be assigned to I first, and then it will be incremented, and then it will be incremented. So in this case, the content of I is going to be 5, and then the A will be incremented to 6. So the value of A is going to be printed as 6, but I is going to be 5. Let me execute. Here you go. A is 6 and I is 5. Let me give you some other examples so that you can understand the thing more clearly. Say we have a variable B here with 6 and a variable I. Now I'm writing something like this: A++ multiplied with B++. Then I'm printing A, B, and I. So I am having B here added. Okay. So in this case, for the multiplication operation, the values of A and B will be utilized first. Here the associated operation is multiplication. Multiplication is having higher precedence than the assignment. So the multiplication is going to take first, and the content of A and B is going to be utilized to the multiplication first, then they will be incremented since we have used the post incrementation here. So the value of A is right now 5, value of B is right now 6. So 5 multiplied with 6 is 30. That's going to be assigned to I. Then the value of A is going to be incremented, and also the value of B is going to be incremented. So after this operation, I is going to be 30 and A is 6, B is 7. So let me execute. Here you go. A is 6, B is 7, and I is 30. Now instead of this, if I just use, say, plus plus A multiplied with B++, then the value of A is going to be incremented first, then the result is going to be utilized in the multiplication operation with the current value of B, that is 6. So 6 multiplied with incremented A, that is 6, that is 36, is going to be assigned to I. Then the value of B is going to be incremented. So A is going to be 6, B is going to be 7, but the result of multiplication is going to be 36. Here you go. Here the result of multiplication is 36. So A and B both are going to be incremented by 1. That's obvious. If you have plus plus B here instead of B++, both the variables A and B are going to be incremented first. Then the incremented values for A and B are going to be used in the multiplication. That means here the result of multiplication is going to be 6 multiplied with 7. That's 42. Here you go. So the value of I is 42, and both A and B are incremented to 6 and 7 respectively. This is another example of pre and post increment operation. Here you have a variable A initialized with, again, my favorite number 5, and then I'm just printing the content of A++ with the first printf, and then I'm doing plus plus A here. Now what's going to be the output for these two cases? Now here the value of A is going to be passed to the printf as parameter first, then the A is going to be incremented. So here the printf function gets 5 as the value for A, so it will be A equals to 5 here, and then the value of A is going to be incremented to 6 after passing to the printf. So 6 is not going to be printed here. Now in the next printf at line number 7, the value of A is going to be incremented. So from 6 it is going to be incremented to 7. So here then it is going to be passed to the printf method. So A equals to 7 is going to be printed here. So here it is 5 because the current value of A is passed to printf first, then the value of A is incremented to 6. Now here it is from 6 to 7, that is passed to the printf function, it's 7. Let me just execute the program and show you the result. Here it is. It's first A equals to 5, then A equals to 7. Makes sense. Had we written a printf statement in between these two printfs, then the value of A would be obviously 6 after the first operation. So here if we print the content of A at line number 7, as you can see, it's going to be 6 because A is incremented to 6 here, so here it is going to be 6. Now let me just execute once more to show you that. Here you go, A is equal to 6.